Welcome back to the campus of Benedictine College and another episode of Greatness Unleashed. Collin Echols to get the day started for us, joined by Dakota Smith, one of my broadcasting counterparts here at BC. Dakota, spring sports in full swing. We covered that a little bit last time. Winter sports have officially kind of worked their way out of the picture. Basketball wrapped up. We'll hear about that later on in the episode. But let's take it over to the north side of campus, over to the baseball and softball diamonds. We'll start at Olsen Island with Benedictine baseball, who is off to a pretty hot start at the beginning of the year. 16-8 overall, and the conference schedule results 7-1, which I think you and I can both agree is a little bit of an overachievement to what maybe we thought this year was going to look like.
Yeah, no, Eric Peterson has his guys playing very, very, very well right now. It's a combination of very, very good pitching, good hitting, and very aggressive on the base paths. They like to steal a lot of bags. We saw that this weekend against Missouri Valley. They just steal. And when you have as much speed as they do, you can do that. And it'll be a weapon later on, especially when you're trying to manufacture a run late in the game when you really, really need it. That speed is going to come in very handy later in the year.
Well, and you talk about manufacturing a run when you really, really need it. We'll flash you back to Sunday, the second part of the series against Missouri Valley. Part of the 8-5 win in Game 4. Eli Reeves going first to home on 3 stolen bags. A straight steal of home, which I think you and I both said when I texted you maybe 30 seconds after the play happened. I don't think either one of us have witnessed one of those live, let alone called one. And like you said, he's been a menace on the base path. C.J. Serrano's been doing really well. Bryce Martin leading the way. He's got, 20 or 21 stolen bags this year. The three of them alone are going to be a problem for a lot of people, especially a lot of those catchers trying to throw down a second.
And with the way their lineup kind of shakes out, those guys are on the bases at the same time quite a bit.
And that's scary.
Because Eli and Bryce hit 1-2 in the order, and then CJ will run for whoever the catcher is, be it J.K. Sparks or Carson Hintz. They're usually hitting 3, 4, 5. So they're going to be on the bases at the same time quite a bit, and that's tough to deal with as an opposing pitcher and an opposing defense.
Final scores from the Missouri Valley series: 11-2, 10-4, 6-3, 8-5. The Ravens take it all. And how about McDougal getting pitcher of the week? That came out just a few minutes before we started recording this. He had an absolute gem of a game. Goes the complete 7, no earned runs. Final score 6-3. Doesn't get a whole lot better than that. It's hard to go a full 7 and give up no earned, regardless of who the competition is on the other side of the field.
Oh yeah, and he's freshman pitcher, getting very, very comfortable. I mean, you can see it. The kid is ultra talented, great stuff, and he's going to be that pitching staff 1 through 4. You're going to find it hard to beat in this conference when you go top to bottom with Parrish Beagle, Scott Matzke, Nick Mazingo, and Ryan McDougal. You're going to find it's going to be hard to find a better 1 through 4 pitching staff in the entire conference.
Finishes with 2 walks and 6 strikeouts in that game as well. Next up for the Ravens is a doubleheader at home against Grandview Tuesday the 24th, and then they've got a long, long break. The next time they will be back on the north end of campus will be on April 10th and 11th, the Friday-Saturday series against Park. Go a little further north over to Ravensfield with softball, another team that is off to a phenomenal start to the conference schedule.
Yeah, also 7-1 in conference play. The one loss, they split that series with number 8 now, number 17, CMU on March 14th, right before everybody came back for spring break, but 3-run rules this weekend. There were 3 games where they played 5 innings this weekend, and the other one they went to extras and were able to pull that one out in the 9th inning against Culver Stockton. They won the first one 9-0, then 4-3 and 9. Then a sweep of Graceland on Sunday, 18-9 and 14-2. They swing it as good as anybody. They're 4th in the country in home runs, 5th or 6th in extra base hits. Slugging percentage is top 15 in the country, and they pitch it very well. Bailey Selvage is having another great year like she has the previous 2. She's well on her way to breaking the career strikeouts record. It's just going to be a matter of time at this point, and her ERA is just slightly above 1, which is really good no matter what you're talking about. And Elena Valia also, she got the Offensive Player of the Week for the conference, had a great game. She had a triple and a grand slam in game 1 against Culver, and then had the game winner in the second game, and then had 2 great games against Graceland on Sunday. They are swinging it well, pitching it well. They're going to be a very talented team. They're just 2 spots outside of the top 25. It would not surprise me the next time that comes out if they sneak their way into the bottom of that top 25.
Yeah, and when we talked to Coach Hunt earlier this year, too, when we had him on the podcast kind of previewing what the softball season was going to look like while they were in their pre-conference schedule, it's why they scheduled such a gauntlet to get started. Multiple top 25 opponents, multiple top 10 opponents. It's going to be a good year for softball. They're off to a roll, and you luck out. You get to sit up there on the furthest, most north end of campus to get to witness and broadcast a lot of that. So, going to be an exciting year for you. Yeah. Coming back to the more southern part of campus, right outside where we're at Legacy Field, women's lacrosse coming up with another ranked win against Kaiser. We'll hear about that in a little bit more in depth later on in the episode, but it's just a carryover from last year.
Yeah, that's what this is. And we talked a lot about it, that they were going to be just as good, if not better, this year. And they are probably just as good when you're playing without Chantera Allen. That makes things a little bit more difficult when she set the NAIA record for goals in a single season last year. When you're playing without her, that makes things more difficult, but they've learned to play without her. And they are playing so well right now. Lorelei Siegel, who you'll hear from later, has been on an absolute tear to start the year. 41 goals, 17 assists. And she's playing out of her mind. Her and Kaylin Moore both went offense, defense player of the week this week. Siegel was the national player of the week on the offensive side last week. Molly Owen was the defensive player of the week last week as well. And it's just ranked win after ranked win. That's 3 in a row. And they are just playing so well right now, playing as a complete unit, and hopefully on their way to defending that national championship as we go, as they're going to start working their way into conference play. They play William Jewell on Wednesday before starting their Hart schedule on Saturday against UHSP out there in St. Louis. They go UHSP on Saturday, Culver Stockton on Sunday before they get back home for a big-time showdown with Missouri Baptist.
Be another good test for the team to continue to prepare them for later on in the season. And then we go to the opposite side. Men's lacrosse also off to a blistering start. 6-0, 3-0 in conference play. And, I think it was kind of up in the air what we thought this team was going to be truly this year. They have, I think, well exceeded what anybody thought was going to happen. They have allowed 2 goals. 2 goals all year. 1 against Siena Heights, 1 against Clark.
And this comes with a caveat that their schedule has been extremely weak to start the year.
It has.
Not for their own fault. They had a really good schedule built out, and some things had to change, and that schedule really ended up getting blown up, and they lost a lot of the ranked teams that they were going to play early on in the year. If you talk to them, they would tell you that their schedule really starts this week.
Yes.
They have to go to Columbia, William Woods, and then they come home against MoBap. We're going to find out a lot about who this team is on Saturday. I agree. The numbers they have put up from the first 6 games, very gaudy numbers. The goal numbers they have put up. The defensive numbers are arguably more impressive than the offensive numbers. I don't care how bad a team is, to shut somebody out, not once but twice with both Ottawa and Missouri Valley. That's insane defense, and they held Missouri Valley to 0 shots on Sunday. I don't care how bad a team is, to completely dominate a game in that sense is just wild to me. And like I said, the next 2 weeks you're going to learn a lot about this team, but the talent is very much there.
Yes.
And it's going, this conference is very, very balanced on the men's lacrosse side. We really don't know William Penn's number 5 team in the country. So you give them that. They're probably the one right now, but then it's a battle after that. I'd like to think Benedict's the 2, and William Woods got MoBap on Saturday. That really surprised me, because that's what William Woods Pro. They're only in their 2nd year as a program, and they're very, very good. They've already beaten MoBap and St. Ambrose. So they still have Columbia left. So those matchups will kind of shake things out. But if the Ravens can win their next 4, that really locks you into the 2 seed at worst for the conference tournament. And we'll get it out there now. They have home field advantage for the conference tournament. That's going to play a big factor come conference tournament time.
Like you said, next few up for men's lacrosse on Saturday the 28th at Columbia, April 1st, Wednesday at William Woods, back home on April 4th, which is a Saturday against Missouri Baptist. It's kind of all we've got going on right now, baseball, softball, 2 lacrosse, but so far I would say spring sports starting off successfully, giving us a lot of great moments on the microphone and on the headsets. You'll get to see some of those announcer cam footage clips come out on our Instagram, Benedictine Ravens Sports Network, all one word, shameless plug, I don't care. Anyways, we're going to continue with the episode after the break. We'll talk some basketball wrap-up. We'll talk to Lorelei Siegel to kind of break down that Kaiser win as well. It's going to be a good episode of Greatness Unleashed right after the commercial break from the campus of Benedictine College.
Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas is a Newman Guide school with top 10 rankings in U.S. News and the Wall Street Journal. Choose strong Catholic identity and strong academics, including pre-med, nursing, engineering, and classical architecture. Benedictine granted more scholarships this year than ever before. Choose dominant Raven athletics with nearly 20 conference and national championships in the last 5 years. Choose a college consecrated to the Blessed Mother. Engage with a community of faith and scholarship. Join our mission to transform culture in America. It starts with you.
Welcome back to this latest edition of Greatness Unleashed. Josh Pound, now joined by women's basketball head coach Chad Folsom. And Coach, you've had a little bit of time to digest what was a very successful season for you and the ladies this year. A little far, more than a few days removed from that first round tournament, but 24-8 overall. Competing for the conference tournament title yet again. 13-game winning streak there in the second semester. Just overall thoughts on how you think the season went.
It was a great year. We started the year not knowing exactly what we had. We knew we had a lot of good talent. We also knew we had a lot of great people, but we weren't sure because we'd graduated 5 starters, 6 seniors from last season, and it was a great ride because as the year went on, I feel like we got better and better every week. That was kind of our mantra, was that we're just going to keep improving, keep getting better. We dealt with a lot of injuries at the beginning of the year. Nicole Stork and Kelly Stork were out the first 5 games of the year, which allowed a lot of players to step in, and get a lot of experience early. During that stretch, we were able to go 3-2, and pulled out an overtime game, first game of the season, so it was a good win on the road. And then, like you said, we started to kind of hit our stride, hitting the second semester, and put 13 games together in a row. And it was pretty awesome because when you look back in the second semester, we only lost 2 games in the league. Both happened to be the Mid-American Nazarene, one for the conference regular season title, one for the conference tournament title. Of course, disappointing not to get either one of those, but still the fact we were there was awesome, and then our loss in the national tournament game to LSU Shreveport. So nothing to hang our heads about whatsoever. Definitely a wonderful year, and it was great to see just the growth, the development in the team. We played with a lot of young players that got a lot of experience, and then we also had a lot of returning players that didn't necessarily have big roles a year before, but stepped into much bigger roles this year and really performed well. So, and I think at the end of the year, when we had our wrap-up as a team, you really saw how much this team cared about each other, on and off the court, which I think, as a coach, that's what you like to see. That's what you're trying to build, and we definitely got there this year, and the results were a large part of that.
Well, the phrase you hear a lot, talked about when it comes to, building teams that have a championship culture and things like that is, being ahead of schedule. I think you mentioned that going into the season, there were a lot of question marks. How important was it for you to see as a coach the growth for this team? I can't remember where we were picked in the preseason, but it certainly wasn't, second or third or whatever, because of the number of teams or players that you did lose from the season before. So how important was it for you to be able to see, those younger players take that step forward in order for you to kind of take a look back and say, okay, they're here. I've got the right group, and we can do something with these ladies.
Definitely. I mean, like I said, we knew we had a great group of young ladies. Like I said, we didn't know how it would turn out. And I think that was also a key to our season, is that we didn't really focus, on the end, which sometimes that you can do that and get caught up. where we focused game by game, week by week, just keep getting improving, just getting better and better. And, this team as a whole really, really loved to be coached, wanted to learn. We're eager to learn, so as a coaching staff, Coach Collin, myself, Josie and Hannah did a great job, I think, of teaching, throughout the season. I think our team did a good job at learning and improving. And I think also, this team really did a great job at just wanting to be prepared. So I feel like we went into most every game with a good game plan, and our team understood the scout report and was ready to perform. So, and again, we played very unselfishly. That's something that's always been a key for us, especially of late. We were second in the league in assists per game, averaging 17.6 assists, again, just like we did the year before. So, they played well together. They played as a unit, and definitely, like I said, wanted to get better and better every single step of the way. So, to be where we are now, yeah, we've set the table for next season. Expectations are definitely going to be higher, I would say, starting out, just knowing, what we have returning and what we were able to achieve this year. But I think they're all still eager to learn and still eager to keep improving and see what we can do.
Well, with team success comes individual success. We don't know any All-American stuff yet because that's not been released. But 4 ladies make all conference selections, and then Coach Andy gets Assistant Coach of the Year. Just talk about what the 4 players that got the individual awards meant. And then, in a sport where turnover, assistant coaches wise, that tends to happen a lot when somebody's maybe going for the next job. You've been pretty fortunate to have Andy, right there in your back pocket for a number of years to help build this together.
For sure, start off with our first team, all conference performance. We're led by Riley Bruggeman. She was the first teamer that averaged 17 points a game. She also was like 4.5 assists and 3 steals and 6.5 rebounds. She kind of filled the stat sheet up every single night for us, which was awesome. She really stepped into that scoring role we needed, that we lost from last year, and she did a wonderful job of that. So yeah, she ended up being first team all conference. Also first team all conference was junior Nicole Stork, who also, both of those two played a fair amount the year before, but definitely rose up into bigger roles for us. And she, again, was up there, 10, 12 points a game. She was our leading rebounder, 7.5. I think she led the league in offensive rebounding, was right up there near the top. So, she, again, had a great season for us. Then we had freshman Kelly Stork, who ended up being second team all conference and was named the freshman player of the year. So that's pretty exciting, and definitely grew and developed throughout the whole season. I felt like as an inside post player for us, she was drawing double teams almost every night, which is pretty impressive, especially being a freshman, like I said, which then opened up shots for the rest of the team. And then another freshman, Owen Dieters, was named third team all conference, and she was also part of the all defensive team. And she really set the tone, getting up there and pressuring the ball and putting a lot of pressure. She also was up there with one of the league leaders in steals along with Riley. She was also, both of them had like 4.5 assists a game, the two of them, so not many teams had a tandem of both two guards averaging that. And again, as a freshman, she just grew and got better and better as the season went on too. So yeah, those were all the players. And then of course, like you said, Andy Connolly, our assistant coach, was able to be named the Assistant Coach of the Year, which is really awesome. It's her second time for that honor, so it's really cool to see. And like you said, for 17 years now, 18 years now, we've been together, so it's been a great combination. I think the two of us work really well together, and she really, I think, does a great job at, again, prepping for games and putting all the videos together, that we go over for our team, and then of course on the court coaching, and then just being off the court, being there for the team. And she's very much like a mom figure for them, which is really great to have around too. So, but the two of us have been great together. So it's been wonderful. It was a wonderful year, and I'm glad to see all of those people recognized for the great job they did this year.
Well, obviously this time of year, starting to transition and already looking at, next year and what can things be done. The off season almost instantaneously starts for basketball now, or it just that cycle continues to roll. Just talk about maybe what this time of year looks like for you and the staff and then the ladies, as you kind of give them time to kind of decompress and reflect on what last year was, but then also, hey, we still have work to get done. We got to start getting in that prep to get ready for next year.
Right, yep. So right now, since we finished just over a week ago, we're taking some time off, which I think is great for everybody. A couple weeks here of not doing, anything basketball-wise, which they probably all are ready for. And then, like you're saying with recruiting, I mean, that's always a big process that's pretty much all year round, and this year we were fortunate to sign 5 freshmen in the first semester, to join us next year, but we still have a couple more spots to fill with some injuries that took place during the course of the season. You didn't know going in that we need a few more players, but Coach Collin and myself and our staff are still, working on that, so that's still going on. And then, in the next month, and once we get into April, we'll start, just playing pickup again. They'll just get in the gym. We'll be bringing in recruits, some for this season and some for the following years. So we'll be busy with that as well. And then getting back in the weight room, getting the routine down and getting, everybody back lifting, because from April through, November is big time for everybody to get stronger in the weight room. And so that's a big part of our program. So getting that in place before they leave for the summer is also important over the next month.
We talk about how recruiting is constant, but what realistically is like the cycle when you say you'll bring recruits in to kind of play pick up with the team? How far out are those recruits? Is there what's the youngest recruit that you've been able to bring in over the years, or has that started to change as the model for when these high school kids are starting to look to what colleges they're going to go to, as that's kind of changed over the last few years?
I mean, throughout the course of the fall and through the school year, we've been bringing in some underclassmen, kids that still have another year or 2 or maybe 3 of high school, that we've been bringing on campus, and been able to continue to evaluate. And then, we'll have some more, like I said, coming in this spring, and some of them we've been in touch with or even visit in the fall may come back again in the spring and play pickup with us, which is a good time for that. And I'd say the bulk of the recruiting, I mean, it's AAU basketball. We spend a lot of time in the summer going to tournaments around the Midwest and around the country, and that's already starting. I think the first term is April 10th and 12th, or 11th and 12th that weekend, so that's already going on. So that started earlier and earlier. I feel like for every year it's gotten sooner and sooner on when tournaments go, but AAU basketball starts in April and doesn't finish till the end of July. So you've got a lot of opportunity in there, and that's where we do a lot of our recruiting, is getting a chance to see a lot of players at one time in one location. But and then what we've added in the last couple years, which I think has been very beneficial on the recruiting side, is we've added an elite camp, which we usually do the first Friday or second Friday in August, which has allowed us, again, an opportunity to get recruits on campus. Again, those are freshmen, sophomore, senior, not any high school students that we've been in touch with or that are interested. Get them on campus, get them a chance to see the campus and work out with some of our players, and we kind of, teaching them skills that we share with our own team, which I think is a good thing, and kind of helping those athletes grow and get them on campus. So that's kind of, but like I said, it goes on all year, and then when we hit September, October, we're bringing in recruits again and having them play with us again and again seeing the campus. So that's a process that just continues and continues, never ends.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, still a very busy time for you and your staff, so we appreciate you taking the time for sitting down with us. Congratulations on another great season. Obviously it didn't end the way that you guys had hoped, but continuing to be in the national tournament, winning 20 games a year, you just kind of continue to establish your program as one of the known programs in the NAIA. So thanks for taking the time. We appreciate you sitting down with us.
All right. Thank you, Josh.
Coming up after the break, we'll visit with women's lacrosse player Lorelei Siegel as we get it caught up on how the women's lacrosse season's going here in the latest edition of Greatness Unleashed from the campus of Benedictine College.
Welcome to the Heart of America Athletic Conference, where innovation meets tradition. Here, growth is not just measured in victories, but in the development of character and sportsmanship. Our student athletes compete at a championship level, pushing their limits every day. The Heart is committed to an uncommon student athlete experience that features some of the premier athletic programs in the NAIA. Our commitment to excellence goes beyond athletics, establishing a community of support and mentorship. But what truly sets us apart is the heart with which we play. Join us and experience the passion, the drive, and the spirit of champions. That passion and commitment extends off the playing field and into graduation. The Heart of America Athletic Conference, champions in competition, leaders in life.
Welcome back to this edition of Greatness Unleashed. Happy to be joined by Lorelei Siegel from women's lacrosse, sophomore out of San Antonio, right? Okay, I thought making sure I got that right. But A big win on Saturday for you guys as a team. Obviously, we wanted to bring you on to kind of represent the team and kind of give folks what kind of an update on how the season's going. But first off, just take us back through, a third top 10 win for the team this year. First one at home. How big was that game just to be in on Saturday?
It was huge. It was just like such an honor to be able to like represent the team like that, especially for the seniors, because last time we'd faced Kaiser was their freshman year, faced them in the regular season, and then faced them again in the national tournament. And it was just a big game, and they really prepared us for it, and just so that we knew that like this meant a lot. Obviously, going into any game, you're gonna want to have some like level of focus and intensity, but this was just like a different level of that. It's like not only like were we doing this like to obviously win, but then also doing it for each other, and it was just really awesome to have that like team bond there and have that win today.
Well, a solid core, proving that the number one ranking is very worthy. You haven't done anything to lose being the number one team in the country. But it is a different team than last year, especially from your perspective. 41 goals now for you in your sophomore season. Did you kind of have a feeling going into this year that maybe you were going to be leaned on a little bit more to be the goal scorer, or has that just kind of come as the games have played and as you've been given the opportunity to showcase what you can do?
I would say it's a bit of both. We knew for sure like that the underclassmen would really have to step up this year, not only just to contribute to the team, but also we have an amazing stack of seniors this year that we knew we'd have to really make sure to step up so that they knew that the team was in good hands. So that was kind of already a given thing going into this year, but just my role this year, just as it's like kind of occurred, like I've just taken it as it comes. My role changes with each game, whether I'm driving to score a goal or I'm just assisting for all of the game. I've just taken that in, and I don't really like have like a set, like I'm going to go and do this each game,
Right.
But I just do what Coach Hansen tells me and
Right.
just take it as I go.
Well, obviously, as a freshman, you were in a reserve role last year. Now you're out there as a starter, one of the big time contributors to the team. Just talk about how that progression went from you stepping onto the team last year as a freshman, wide-eyed freshman, learning what college is like the entire time, and it ends with a national championship. And then you step into this year with, I'm a national champion. And then now, as the roles progress, just talk about how that transition has gone from you of not just getting to know what it's like to be, on a college campus, but then now to transition into being a known player for one of the top teams in the country.
Yeah, big change for sure. Coming into Benedictine as a freshman, especially knowing that this team is just so great, skill level wise, culture wise, just their bond, like that Coach Hansen has like cultivated is just incredible. And going into that, I was so nervous that I wouldn't be able to fit in, or that like I just wasn't worthy of like all this like just coaching and love that this team gives. So like very big change going into that year. But just as the season progressed, like it just, everyone took you in and like made you feel like this is your home and like you were chosen to be here. And like just having that mentality and going throughout the season, like really just kind of shook away the nerves and made me like really feel like I belonged and like I had a role to do something. And obviously it helps like being like supported by such great players like Collin and Molly and Chantera. But yeah, winning the national tournament was something crazy. Obviously it's the goal,
Right.
like the final goal, but it was never really in my mind like until the game. It was just like play by play, ground ball by ground ball, like just one step at a time, because that's all you could do. And then coming into this year, like it's happened, it's done with, honestly. Like I have the mindset of like I can't wear this like on my shoulder. Yes, it's a great accomplishment and I'll always be grateful for the team and like year that we had, but I've got to focus on this year and just make sure that like our freshmen are supported and that like I'm doing all that I can to, like I said, support the upperclassmen and then just make sure that like we have a great year, game by game, play by play.
Well, undefeated, so I'd say a pretty good start to the season. Still a lot of games left for conference play, obviously, as you guys still kind of get into the thick of that. One of the things we usually talk about with some of our student athletes when they sit down is what they're going to do when they graduate. But obviously, as only a sophomore, still got plenty of time to think about that. But so I guess we'll just kind of shift gears to how did you find out about Benedictine? And then what was your experience like in that recruiting process and ultimately the decision that led you to become a Raven? Yeah, so originally I had never heard of NAIA schools. I knew like NCAA D3 to D1, and that was kind of all really I was looking at. And I have to credit my dad with this. He really helped me along with my recruiting process and kind of just took the reins on it to help me out while I was balancing school and then high school season. Had a recruiting page, and he favorited Benedictine College because we knew Sloan Poindexter, and he knew it was a good school. Obviously, they had just won the national championship when I had found out about them. So good school. He favorited them, and Coach Hansen immediately sent me an email like expressing interest and wanting to set up a meeting. And to me, the thing that stuck out the most was how personal the email was. She'd actually looked at my recruiting bio and had seen like my interests, what I wanted to do. Originally it was dentistry. I've kind of switched page and gone towards athletic training now, but really personal, and that kind of like set me towards it. Have family near here, so that's also another big part of it because I just love having like a big crowd when we have home games. Right. It's always really nice just to see the family there. What has been the biggest surprise for you now that you're in year 2 of being on campus? Biggest surprise, I would say, would probably be just like my teammates. Like they come out and surprise me every day, like just with their skills and just the IQ that they show, not only on the field, but in the classroom too. And just like the love and like bond that we've all like gotten to know each other, and just how quickly we've all become attached to each other. I would say that was definitely not expected, but I experienced it my freshman year, and like it just, everyone has gotten so much closer. Now that you've kind of got a little bit of that experience, what would be one thing that you would tell that senior version of you that didn't know much about Benedictine, didn't know much about the NEI? What would be some advice you would give her to be better ready for what life has been like for you for the last year and a half? I would say that like I do belong, and like to not doubt that, and to trust in God's plan, and just know that like there is a path for me, and to not doubt that, and just kind of live in the moment, and just make sure I'm not taking each day for granted, like each moment, each teaching moment, like just to really take all that in. Well, Lorelei, thanks for taking the time to sit down with us today. Good luck. We've got a handful of games. It's going to be a while. I think we're not back until the Saturday of Easter weekend before we play at home again. So a little bit of road weariness for you guys, but something you guys are used to already with the long spring break trip, and was successful at that. So good luck for the rest of the season. We'll be cheering you on as you guys compete for a couple more banners. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. Coming up after the break, we'll sit down with men's basketball head coach Ryan Moody. We already talked to Chad Folsom, but we'll sit down with Ryan Moody and talk about how his season went with the men's basketball team here on the latest edition of Greatness Unleashed from the campus of Benedictine College.
It all began in 1937. A vision to start something different, something better. A college athletics association where competition wasn't just about the scoreboard, but about character, growth, and rising together. From that first tip-off, the NAIA has grown in size and in spirit, in the way we play, the way we lead, the way we make athletics greater than a game.
This is college athletics the way it was meant to be. This is the right way to play.
Welcome back to the latest edition of Greatness Unleashed as we continue to wrap up some of our winter sports here around campus. Pleased to be joined now by Ryan Moody, men's basketball head coach. And Coach, you've had a few days now to kind of unwind, digest, and just kind of put a bow on what this last season was like. Just general thoughts on the season as how it went overall.
I think it was a really good step forward. I mean, we've been the last couple of years kind of grinding through some players that left the program, some guys coming in that got injured, and then just being young overall. And I thought this year we showed a lot of success. I mean, I'm a big believer in sometimes you've got to fail to succeed. And I thought that this year we played, I think, 6 or 7 sophomores in quality minutes. Ended up with an over 15 and 14 back into the Hart postseason tournament. So I think all in all, really good success. I was happy with the way we grew throughout the season. Still battled some injuries, everybody does. But I thought our guys grew and got tougher as the season went on.
And the conference continues to grow as well. I mean, it used to be kind of a clear, like you could tell, like it's going to be these 3 or 4 guys are here, maybe a big chunk in the middle, but really now it's gotten to the point where you really can't take anybody for granted, and that grind just has to be as much of a learning process as anything else.
It's a really good point. I mean, top to bottom, our league, I don't know what the hardest league in America is, to be honest with you. I know ours is really hard and really difficult. There are really good players, All-Americans, guys that will be playing Division I basketball next year in the league this year. Really good coaches, and now you've got 15 teams fighting for 8 spots to get into the postseason tournament. And then, and only having 28 games, too, in a season, that's kind of shrunk over time since I've been the head coach here, too. And, there's just very limited room for error, and you got to continue to grow. I think this year's group, we lost 4 one-possession games, and that's just learning how to win with a lot of those guys out there. So, the league's tough. I liked where we were at. A couple things go our way, and we're probably hosting maybe in that first round, but you can't look backwards, and I think that we grew a ton from this season.
Well, one of the things that kind of got lost in the shuffle through the course of the season was how that postseason was going to get selected. And luckily, the conference started kind of releasing that. For the most part, it worked out like it should. I think there was a couple maybe where things got really flipped. But for the most part, do you feel like that new system put you guys where you should have been as far as the way that you played this season?
Yeah, I think so. I think we ended up 7th. Had to go to William Penn in the first round. The PRS, point rating system, essentially gives you a value for the wins because we didn't play everybody in a double round robin. You can't anymore with this many teams, so we played an unbalanced schedule. And I think that you should get some value for a win on the road against a better team. And I think that's what that did. I didn't study it as far as like how people actually finished and those kind of things. But in the end, I think it's the most fair and probably the most justified way to get 8 teams out of 15 and now 16 next year with not playing everybody the same.
Had a couple of guys get all conference. Just talk about what those guys meant for you this year.
Yeah, really special group. We'll start with Deglin. He was second team, just outside the first team. Probably should have been a first teamer, but some older guys got the nod on that. Really grew into his own. He's in his 3rd year, but only a 2-year player for us because he redshirted his first year. Tough, competes his tail off, led us in scoring, led us in assists, was way up there in rebounds. His percentages are off the charts. So Deglin's biggest challenge, and we talked about this already, is like, can you continue to get better? And he makes everyone around him better just by how hard he plays. And then I think our second teamer was Bryson LaRue. Just consistent as can be throughout his career. He was a second teamer all Hart last year too. Kind of always could count on Bryson to get you that 12 to 20 points every night. Solid, didn't turn it over. Just one of the best, most efficient kids basketball-wise that we've had, but just one of the most solid people. And then Preston Reynolds, I'm really glad that Preston got honored. He got honored with all-defensive team. Was in contention for some one of the first 3 teams, but in the end, that's probably a good fit for him because he's just anticipation-wise, he's really good out there on the floor. Preston was like a 9 and 8 guy for us all year. 9 points, 8 rebounds, led the team in steals. Kind of was like our watchdog. Kind of led the team from behind when it came to defense and talking things through. Great anticipation. So I'm glad he got his recognition in his 5th year.
Well, now we transition to kind of a unique kind of year. We talked about how you're decompressing from a long grind that starts in September, doesn't end until March, and now you kind of the recruiting process is a year-round thing anymore at our level. But just take us through like what now looks like for you and the staff as you start to kind of turn your attention to getting ready for next year?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the first thing we do, first and foremost, is meet with our guys that are returning and find out where their head's at. We give them an evaluation of where they're at, what their year looked like, where they stand in the program, and maybe where we see them in the program, and then a plan to help develop them. You know, it's 2026. I mean, there's rosters flipping all over the country, right? Guys leaving, guys coming in. I think there were 3 teams, maybe even more, might have been 5 or 6 in our league that literally had a brand new team this year, and that'll happen again next year. Thankfully, all our guys are coming back. They're ready to get started. So that's step one. You just got to sit down, have good conversations, see where they're at. And then we get back in the weight room with our current guys, the returners. We get back in the weight room. We start getting back in the gym, playing some pickup. They start working on their skill. I mean, there is no real off season. There's just non-competitive season, right? Like, you got to get better. This is the time. And like I said, I mean, next year's group has 7, 8 juniors on the team, 2 or 3 seniors thrown in there, like a lot more experience. And so this is a really vital time this spring, summer, fall as we come up. Recruiting wise, I mean, we've got 14 coming back as of this moment. We lose we lose Bryson LaRue is an all-league wing. We lose Jack Vanderwoody, who was a really good player for us, was I think 3rd-teamer last year, and then Preston. So we're gonna look at all options. We've signed a really good point guard out of Des Moines Catholic Dowling Catholic in Des Moines, Iowa. Noah Martins, he's going to be a real asset to this team as we move forward, and then we're gonna test the waters with transfers at a couple of spots, probably that wing spot. We've got some guys in the program we really love, but our job is to make it competitive and to help this team get to where they want to be. So, that's going to shake out probably over the next month. There's a lot of things happening right now when it comes to guys making decisions on where they're at. I mean, just think of the amount of it for a guy who's been here 15 years, have been coaching for almost 30. I mean, there'll be 3,500 to 4,000 Division I transfers this year. That doesn't count Division II, doesn't count Division III, doesn't count NAI, and doesn't count junior college. You throw all those guys in there, we're talking 8,000-9,000 guys looking for a place to go. It's insane, I mean, and so I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's insane. It's a lot of information out there. So you got to sift through it. You got to find the right guys, the right fits. It's what's worked for us in our time here has always been build it with really tough, good high school players, help them develop, get bigger, faster, stronger, and then add in the right fit transfers. And I think we're going to stick to that formula. We're going to find guys that fit our culture, that fit our institution, that fit academically at Benedictine, and then of course can help us win games. And we're on track for that right now.
With that shift that you mentioned, like there's just, for lack of a better term, there's just so many more free agents that are college players now. Does that open the door, maybe, especially at our level, to maybe get a higher quality high school recruit because they know they have an opportunity to make an impact with your program right away, whereas they may have to wait, not just wait to find out if there's a spot's going to be filled by a transfer at the levels above us?
I think across the board you're seeing 2 things happen, Josh. That's a great question. One, I think you're seeing the amount of opportunities for high school kids shrink. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that just want to stay old. They don't want to be young, and that's kind of been our deal the last couple of years. Been a little young, right? And it's really hard to go play against 24, 25-year-olds in their 4th, 5th year, maybe even 6th year of college, depending on what their situation is, with an 18-year-old fresh out of high school, or even a 19-year-old 2 years out of high school. So the opportunities for high school guys have definitely gone down. But to your point, I think we can get I think across the board people are able to get a little better high school player than maybe in the past. But we'll see how all that shakes out. Those guys still have opportunities. I mean, junior colleges, NAIs, I mean, people aren't scared to bring in freshmen. You just have to be good enough because the market out there for older guys is there's just so many that it's very tempting to say, oh, let's just plug and play. Let's take the 1-year guy and plug him in. So, I mean, you got to be really smart about it. Every institution's different, but I do think there's some really good high school players out there that are available, and we'll eventually find homes. It just might take a little longer than usual.
Well, and it's not necessarily the turnover at our level is not NIL related as much as it's guys maybe not being seen their first 2 or 3 years, they went to the NAI because that's who recruited me, and then they used that to kind of springboard. Is that where you kind of see that shift at our level, as it's guys that maybe weren't given the opportunity to play at a higher level now prove that they can play at a higher level, and that's where that turnover comes? Or is it just the nature of where the game is?
I don't know if it's proven, Josh, as much as, there's just so many spots out there, and so now with this transfer culture and this ability to leave and go to other places, I think I know for a fact that there were 3 former NAI players that played at NAIs last year that were the player of the year in their respective NCAA Division I league this year, So yes, to answer your question, I think the NAI guys are in their minds leveling up, right? Like they're either going to a better NAI. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of NAI to NAI transfer. They're going to Division IIs or they're going to Division I's. But a lot of them are staying home and being loyal too. There's some really good players that have chosen to stay. So, it's just this mix of like, what are you doing? And I think personally, Benedictine College, we're our own, right? We have our own set of culture and values and everything else, and I think that it gets its hooks in you. I think our guys appreciate the opportunity they get here, the experience they get here, the education they get here, the culture and the family aspect of the entire institution, not just our program. So, but there's a lot of guys out there just that are looking for a different experience, and we can provide a great experience for guys. So I look at it as a positive for us as far as finding the right fit. But also, man, we got to keep hammering away at getting really good high school players and helping them get better. And I feel really good about where we're at with that right now.
Well, I appreciate the insight. I know you're involved with the NABC, and so you're kind of privy to maybe conversations that some other coaches at our level or even some other coaches in the region may not necessarily be a part of, because you're in the room and you're hearing guys like Bill Self and guys like, he's drawing a blank now, but went from Northwest to now at Iowa.
Coach McCollum.
He's made that transition, and they've seen all of that stuff. So I appreciate you taking the time. Kind of got off track a little bit, but
it's all right. It's just a different, the levels are so different now, Josh. It is. You can see it like in this. Let's talk just for 1 second about the NCAA tournament. There's no mid majors in the Sweet 16, none. It's all Power 5. And that is a clear indication of the money involved in this game now. Because those guys are able to pay their rosters a higher number than the mid-majors, and it doesn't mean the mid-majors are dead. It doesn't mean they're not going to keep, making a couple upsets here and there. But the last 2 years, there has not been a mid-major that's made the Sweet 16. And that's a clear indication of NIL. And then that just trickles down, you hear stories, you don't know. There is no Freedom of Information Act. You can't ask for what guys are getting paid. But there's millions of dollars on the line at the highest level. And then you creep down a little bit, and there's thousands of dollars on the line at low major, Division II things. There are ways for guys, if they're good enough to make money, I'm all for it, But right now, for most NAIs, I can't speak for all of us, and most Division IIs, we're really just trying to provide the best small college basketball experience that we possibly can, and make it as affordable or free if we can for those students, and give them a chance to learn and grow, and there's still tons of value in that, because in the end, there's only, I think it's 4.8% of high school players play at the next level. There's so many spots out there, and there's guys that want to play. So, it's all just a matter of us settling in and figuring out kind of where all this shakes out. We're all doing it our own way.
All right, Ryan, thanks for taking the time. We look forward to seeing what you guys can pull together for next year's season, and good luck in all that prep, and hopefully you get some time to also be away from everything and enjoy that time.
Appreciate you. We're really looking forward to next year. This group's already working, and we'll have a great spring and summer, and we'll be ready to go next year.
Well, that's been Ryan Moody, men's basketball head coach here from the campus of Benedictine College. Thank you for watching this latest edition of Greatness Unleashed, and we'll see you the next time.